But first, Ron is off to Howard's Vineyard.
Many Adelaide Hills commuters are probably oblivious to the importance of a monument overlooking one of the many picturesque vineyards on the outskirts of Nairn. Today the vine leaves turn an autumnal gold, but back at the turn of last century, Hills resident Amos William Howard was out here looking to buy a cow from a nearby neighbour. It was just down here that Amos Howard went for a bit of a wander as he waited for the owner to return. And while out strolling, he noticed a very distinctive clover. It was later identified as Trifolium subterraneum, or subterranean clover. It was a discovery that would transform farming across Australia. Today, this is known as the Howard Vineyard. The current owner, Ian Northcott's salute to a man who changed Australia forever. So Amos is out having a bit of a wander.
Yes.
And
yes.
He's got an eye for things though, hasn't he?
Seeing a man about a dog.
But he's got an eye for things though, hasn't he?
Yes. Well, it's his nurseryman background that he came out from Yorkshire as a nurseryman.
Amos William Howard spotted this distinctive clover, which he believed could rejuvenate great expanses of arable land. The clover itself, how does it rejuvenate the soil?
Well, it's clovers have the like the lucerne. It's part of the lucerne family, and they put nitrogen back into the soil, where your perennial grasses, for example, use that nitrogen to grow. So the combination of the two, there's a synergy, and so the one helps the other. So you have better pastures as a consequence.
Throughout Australia, the planting of subterranean clover and the use of superphosphate, or Southern Super as it's known, worked miracles across the country, bringing clapped-out farming country back to life and saving many from financial ruin. In the cellar door area of the Howard Vineyard, the coloured chalk image of Amos Howard looks down on those who gather for a tasting. And nearby, in the barrel room, a 92-year-old local, Alan Sargent, recalls the day when he, as an 8-year-old, met the famous nurseryman.
He's quite a fair, a decent chap. Very religious. He didn't do any thrashing, he didn't do any work on Sundays.
The thrashing Alan refers to was done to collect seeds from subterranean clover. He, like many others, was given a rake to create great clover mountains. These would then be processed in mobile thrashing plants and the seeds exported around Australia and the world.
He spread out from Mount Barker district to almost every other Mediterranean climate country in the world.
Today, the Mount Barker cloverleaf takes pride of place on Ian Northcott's Howard Vineyard range. And on the red wine labels, some words of advice in Amos Howard's own handwriting. According to the Yorkshire nurseryman's script, any good gardener must have a knowledge of botany, mineralogy, and all the other forces that impact on his or her particular patch of dirt.
He was obviously a nurseryman of some note, and I think that leads into the concept of terroir, which we thought was appropriate for a vineyard site.
So for a Yorkshireman, he's speaking the language of the French.
He is indeed, which is quite surprising, isn't it?
But it's that whole idea, isn't it? It's the wine is made up of not just the soil, but everything around it.
Yes, absolutely.
Whether you describe it as the French vigneron's concept of terroir, or a canny Yorkshireman's simple gardening nous, all are put to good use here in the making of reds and whites on the hill slopes around Nairn. It's hard to know what Amos Howard would make of all of this. His paddocks have now been covered by acres and acres of vineyards. But the clover seeds once gathered in hidden valleys throughout the Adelaide Hills have now been exported around the world. The Howard Vineyard, with its monument to Amos Howard, is located on the road between Nairn and Littlehampton. The cellar door is located at Lot 1 on Bald Hills Road.